Hello everyone, welcome back to the Strike Point Media. Please subscribe and like my videos. Today we're diving into a very significant development, the announcement that Belarus has agreed to supply nuclear power plant electricity to Russia or Russian-controlled territories via a proposed new nuclear facility. This is a story with exterior, interior, performance, safety, unique selling points, pricing/finance, and concluding implications. Let's unpack it step by step. Starting with the exterior, imagine the geopolitical setting. Belarus and Russia have long been close allies, and in recent talks, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko met with Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss building a second nuclear power plant in Belarus that could supply electricity to Russian-controlled territories in Ukraine and Western Russia. The external face of the project is one of large-scale industrial capability, high-technology infrastructure, cross-border cooperation or interdependency in energy, and a strategic signal of power sharing between these two states. From the outside, the facility would sit in Belarus, likely in the eastern or northeastern region, near the Russian border, so that electricity transmission to Russia or Russian-occupied territories becomes feasible and efficient. Visually, you'd see large cooling towers, reactor buildings, high-voltage transmission grids linking into Russia's network. It's a project not simply of domestic energy self-sufficiency, but of bilateral energy export and politics. Moving to the interior, this is where things get deeper and where many of the details reside. Inside the project, Belarus is proposing to build a new nuclear power plant unit or perhaps an entirely new station with Russian assistance or design, given that Belarus's first nuclear plant, the one at Astravets, was built with Russian state nuclear corporation involvement. The internal infrastructure would comprise the reactor building, control rooms, turbine halls, cooling systems, fuel storage, radiation shielding and containment structures, and a high-capacity transmission hub to export electricity. On the interior technical side, we must assume that the plant would use modern reactor technology, likely a Viva 1200 or equivalent Russian design similar to Belarus's existing plant. The detailed workings would include state-of-the-art safety systems, multiple redundant cooling loops, emergency core cooling, containment vessel capable of withstanding external impacts, seismic protections, and digital control rooms. On the operations interior, you'd have highly trained staff, backup diesel generators, off-site power connections, radiation monitoring, and a strong regulatory regime, though critics question how robust that regime is in Belarus. The plant's interior also must be equipped to handle the export load, meaning that the transmission switchgear must connect into Russia's grid. Transformers sized accordingly, HVDC or AC lines capable of long-distance transmission, substations at the receiving end, and grid stability systems integrate into Russian or Russian-controlled zones. From a human perspective, the interior would house monitoring centers, nuclear safety centers, and training facilities. Given the strategic nature of this project, there might also be enhancements in cyber security, physical security guards, perimeter fencing, anti-intrusion systems, and emergency planning, evacuation routes, drills, etc. The interior, therefore, is not just about the reactor, but about the whole integrated system of generation, transmission, control, safety, and export infrastructure. Another interior dimension is the staff and workforce. The implication is that Belarus will ramp up its domestic nuclear workforce, possibly with Russian training support, to operate a second plant. This will include reactor operators, maintenance engineers, radiation protection specialists, transmission engineers, safety regulators, and so on. Those professionals will work in control rooms, turbine halls, spent fuel storage facilities, switchyards, and grid control centers. The project will generate quite a big internal network of human and technical infrastructure. Moreover, given the announced purpose to supply electricity to Russian-held territories, the interior planning must consider how to ensure stable supply under geopolitical stress, meaning built-in redundancy, grid islanding capability, and hardened structures in case of sabotage or sanctions. So, in summary, the interior of this facility is highly complex. Technical plant equipment, transmission infrastructure, safety and control systems, human and cybersecurity considerations, all built to a high level given the strategic export role. Now on to performance. How will this plant perform? While specific numbers for the new plant are not yet public, we can infer from Belarus's current plant at Astrovets that the target will be significant. Belarus's first nuclear power plant reportedly meets around 40% of Belarus's electricity needs. Therefore, the new plant could be expected to deliver on the order of 1000-1200 MW or more continuously, possibly more if multiple units are planned. The performance goal here isn't just domestic supply, but export capacity, meaning stable base, load generation. High capacity factor nuclear plants often exceed 90%, and robust transmission to partner networks. The export role adds complexity, grid stability, frequency/voltage regulation when feeding into a foreign system, and ability to ramp up or down as demand from Russia or occupied territories fluctuates. In principle, nuclear plants perform very well, offering low marginal cost generation and high reliability. If built and operated properly, this plant could deliver tens of terawatt-hours annually to Belarus and the connected territories. Performance will also be judged on how quickly the plant can be built, how smoothly it synchronizes to the grid, and the availability of fuel, maintenance, and upkeep, given that Belarus says it may build immediately if a decision is made and financing secured. The challenge will be cost overruns, regulatory delay, export transmission complexity, and maintaining performance under potential sanctions or conflict conditions. But from the promise, performance looks designed to be high, export-oriented, and integrated with Russian energy strategy. Let's move to safety features. Any nuclear installation must focus here, and given the context, the scrutiny will be even stronger. The safety features likely include multiple levels of defense in depth: primary reactor containment vessel, secondary containment, emergency core, cooling systems X, backup power diesel or battery to maintain cooling in case of external grid outage, passive safety systems designed to work without human intervention for a set period, robust monitoring of radiation, coolant levels, pressure, temperature, seismic and aircraft, strike-hardened structures, fire suppression systems, security zones, cyber security protections. Given the export mission, there may be additional transmission, grid redundancy, e.g., multiple converter stations, dual lines, remote monitoring for sabotage. Also, given the geopolitical risk, there is likely a heightened emergency planning zone and perhaps heightened military/protection protocols. That said, critics warn that the regulatory environment in Belarus may lack independence, and that proximity to Lithuania raised serious concern at the time of the first plant. For the project at hand, one of the justifications appears to be that if there is a consumer who will pay for electricity, financing is not a problem, said Putin. That means the safety systems must be credible to attract investment and to satisfy export contracts. So, the plant's safety features are central to its viability, its performance, its geopolitical signal, and its local acceptance. Next, unique selling points USPs. What makes this project stand out and worth attention? First, the strategic export capability. This is not just a domestic nuclear plant, but one designed to supply electricity to Russian-controlled territories and integrate Belarus more deeply into Russia's energy architecture. That gives it a geopolitical dimension. Second, the modern reactor technology. Assuming a Russian-designed modern plant, it offers high reliability, low carbon emissions. A nuclear plant produces near zero greenhouse gas at operation, long operating life 40-60 years typical, and stable base load. Third, energy security. For Russia, it offers an additional power source outside its immediate territory. For Belarus, it offers export revenue, technology transfer, and increased integration with Russia's union state structure.